It's the end of week 21. Let's recap all of the action from the NBA on Sunday. The winners of Industry Pickup, the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowls, the Battle Royale week is done. All of the news that you need to wrap up the season, wrap up the week, and get moving forward for the rest of the year. And of course, we get to hear from Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I need your guys' help. I need some recipes for eggplant because I texted my partner and said, "What are you thinking for dinner?" And she sent back a brain emoji and an eggplant emoji. But I've never cooked it before. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at LockedOnFantasyBasketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We're available on all platforms. We're actually available for you to double bang. So go and listen to the audio, go watch the video, thumb it up, and leave your comments down below. Like I said, this is Sunday's recap show. There were 6 games on. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the upcoming 3 weeks as it relates to what we need to talk about. And we'll give recaps on those leagues that have wrapped up as well. And as I am recording this intro, I do not know who has won. Well, I sort of know who won the points battle royale. I don't think the big fella can be caught, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. For the big reveal, again, you probably already know if you're in that league, but otherwise you may not. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about what did happen across the NBA over the last however many hours it is since we spoke. Let's give a news update. Wemby has popped up on the injury report as questionable for tomorrow. All right, you might have thought it was pretty annoying this week with guys sitting out. It's going to get worse. We'll do a full analysis on this, don't worry, at the end of the season. We did it last year, and it was pretty stark. Each week that you pushed your playoffs back, how crazy the valuations of players got and the guys that were in and out. It's going to be annoying here over the next 3 weeks. Guarantee you that. The Jazz, Larry Markkinen has been upgraded to questionable. So is Jordan Clarkson, apparently. So we'll see what they're trying to do. I don't know how often they're going to play this week. Same with the Blazers. DeAndre Ayton is questionable. The Ides of March legend Jeremy Grant remains doubtful. And officially, Anthony Simons is questionable. Now, like I told you guys earlier today, I don't think that Anthony Simons is playing. I think there's a decent chance that he is done for the year. But I also don't know. And I have posited this a couple of times, and I'll do it again. One of the clauses in the player participation policy, as I lose my voice, player participation policy, is that they were going to be extra vigilant on checking on injuries down the stretch so teams didn't fake injure players down there. And I think that what we're seeing with Grant at the moment, what we're seeing with Larry Markkinen in Utah, and what we're seeing with Anthony Simons, and it's going to happen with a million other different players here, is a way to sort of circumnavigate this. They're not just saying out for the season. They're going to give them questionable tags. They'll play them one game. They'll sit them out. And overall, it will be a putrid situation where we have no knowledge of it from a fantasy perspective. We don't know who's in, who's out at any point. Just these confusing tags all the way through. I do think that will end up happening. And it will be annoying because they are listing with these standard tank injuries like tendonitis and soreness. So it's going to be nonsense that goes on all the way through here. Be prepared. But in Memphis, we got an interesting one because Brandon Clark has been upgraded to doubtful. Now that doesn't mean he's going to play because he's not, at least in the next game. But his return is coming soon. I definitely would not go and grab him. He will be pretty limited, I'd guess. Although I thought Bane would be limited and then he wasn't, but now he also significantly is. So that one's, again, I don't know. Their whole team is just all over the shop. Kennard's out again. Konchar's now doubtful. Vince Williams is doubtful. Everyone's at risk of anything at any point on that team. But Brandon Clark is returning pretty soon. As for Bane, who came back from the ankle injury, then played 24 minutes in the 3rd game back and then sat the 4th game back due to back soreness, not his ankle. Now, 5 days later or 4 days later, he's questionable again with the back soreness. This is why I was not interested in adding Desmond Bane. This is why, even if he did come back, which he did, I didn't think it was a good idea to hold on to him because when he came back, he'd be limited. We saw the way they ran their rotations and there'd be all this sort of nonsense going on. And I don't know whether Bane plays or not on Monday, but he is questionable with a different injury to what he was out for to begin with. The Wizards have started the nonsense now too. Tyus Jones remains out. Kyle Kuzma's shoulder, another big, massive problem. He's out again with that. And Jordan Poole has now popped up as questionable. If Poole and Jones is out, but if Jordan Poole's out as well, then you're going to get a lot of Jared Butler. A lot, making him definitely a streaming option. We saw Jabari Smith and Chris Dunn suspended, 2 games for Dunny, 1 for Smitty. With no Şengün and no Smith, I would guess that they start Jock Landale. They could start Jeff Green, but they're the only guys who are probably going to get minutes at center. So Landale, Josh, you got to stop it, mate. You use your proper Australian accent. Landale. You got to go and have a crack at Landale, at least for that one game with Jabari Smith out. With Dunn out, what they did go last time was to Kyra Lewis. But if Jordan Clarkson does return, then I'm not sure we'd look at much Kyra Lewis there. Still a lot of Keontae George and Colin Sexton, but Clarkson could just sub in for the minutes that Dunn is suspended for. Maybe that's why they upgraded Clarkson to questionable. Gideon 2 games while Dunn is suspended. Dunn comes back. Clarkson's done again. Oh yeah, the groin just couldn't handle it. It's done. Real shame. The Nuggets have an easy game coming up against the Grizzlies. So Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic are both listed as questionable. I don't think Murray plays. I think there's a significant chance that Jokic sits as well, but I don't know. And that's where we're at with that at the moment because, like I said, there's just going to be stuff that goes on. It's going to be annoying all the way through, and that's where we're at. Let's talk games. Early ones today. First one was the New Orleans Pelicans and the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons decided to start sitting guys down. Cade Cunningham sat the first game of a back-to-back, so Marcus Sasser started. And then Tosan Evbenwan, who'd been starting, they decided, no, we're going to go with 10-day legend Chimezie Metu as our starting power forward. And this is what I think is going to be a problem all the way through here, is that we can have these situations where we go, oh yeah, that's great. Like, let's have a crack at Evbenwan, or let's have a crack at Lamar Stevens, Vince Williams, whoever it is, but then you'll get these, well, let's start 2 games and let's move to the bench. Delano Banton, Chris Murray, Jabari Walker, all these sort of guys. A little bit of all over the shopness. Bryce Sensabaugh, Johnny Juzang. No level of consistency. And we did get that here with Chimezie Metu starting over old mate Tosan. Not that any of them are great options, but it's where we run into this problem of how do we set the value? How do we feel consistent with the value? Because it's going to just vary a bit. We'll talk Pelicans first. Now, the Pelicans are in the midst of this great schedule. 3 games in 4 nights starting last Thursday. Then they play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and next week. So, the fringe Pelicans, the Najis, the Jose's, the Larry Nance, they're all the 3 targets. You can look at the individual games and go, well, they just really let us down. Larry Nance, 9-3, 27 minutes, 2 assists. That's putrid. Why would I have added him? That's useless. But the reason that we added him was to get 3 games for 1 ad, and then to get 3 more quality games the next week. And if you add up the numbers that Larry Nance had across those 3 games, and there was a scoreless game in there, it was 15 and 14 with 6 assists, 2 steals, 85% shooting. And if you find a guy that you can just get off the wire and get that in, like, that's not easy to do. Yes, it could have been way better. It could have been way better the 3 games you got from Jose Alvarado. 1 big one in there, couple not so good. It could have been way better what you got for Najee Marshall. But just finding that value across 3 games, plus 3 more quality games next week, which the idea was to switch it out, especially for next week, for someone getting 0 games, someone you would not have played a single second of, even though the individual games, even if Larry Nance goes 6-4 for 3 games next week, that's 18-12, which is better than, guess what, 0-0-0. Yes, you could have added someone separate on all of the days, but this is about trying to maximize games for each slot. So you could have used multiple ads and got someone different Tuesday, someone different Thursday, someone different Friday, done Saturday, done the same thing this weekend, but it's about using multiple different slots to get more games in. And that can be a hard concept to get your head around. Like, Nance is a top 100 player over the last week, despite these games which are mid. Like, CJ McCollum and Zion Williamson are both top 10 players for the week because of their schedule so far. And they're going to be pretty close to that next week as well. So it is hard. It's sometimes going to be a hard concept to grasp at first look. But that's where the value is. As for Zion, huge. 36, 7, and 6 with 2 steals on 93%. McCollum, big jump in usage with no Ingram, 37 minutes. He was playing like 29 minutes a night and doing nothing, and now everything's up. 23 with 7 assists and 5 threes. Herb Jones had 4 steals in 35 minutes, while Najee had 14 and 8, 4 triples and 3 assists. That's great from Marshall. 1 game it was Jose, 1 game it was Najee. They both should be rostered for next week. You can get that extra boost of games. Trey Murphy just could not shoot 8%. 8%. 8 points on 8%. He did have 4 blocks, but man, the other stuff is dreadful. While Valanciunas, you would have dropped him if it wasn't for this schedule. 13 and 6 in under 20 minutes. Bad free throws, just not playing enough. But the schedule works in his favor. Like I said, not a great game from Alvarado, 4-5-3 with 1 block on 17%. But you got last game. You got 3 more coming up. There is where the value lies. On to the Pistons. 39 minutes from Chimezie Metu. Cool. Good luck planning for that. 17, 8 and 3, steal on the block. That's great. Don't know if he'll do it in the next one. He might not even start. Who knows? You could just chase, and then you use him on all the high volume days and then decide to start him, and then a better, more consistent player does more. It's a tough call. As for Tosan, he still played 29 minutes, but he had 7 and 7. Hard to feel excited there. Troy Brown started the second consecutive game, had 6 points on 13% shooting. Jaden Ivey was not able to elevate his production, 16, 2 and 4 without Cade. And then Marcus Sasser had 3 points in a start. So just bullshit from this entire franchise. Again, Jim Wiseman played 27 minutes. He did have foul trouble, so that limited him. He had 15 and 11. I don't know if Duran's going to play tomorrow. I think Cade will. I don't know if Duran will. I don't mind an out of Wiseman. Like, you would start him in situations where he starts this week, and I think that Duran's going to be relatively limited down the stretch here. Marcus Sasser did start for Cade, but it was Malachi Flynn who stepped up. 17, 4 and 4, 25 minutes in 3 threes. I don't feel any level of confidence in using Flynn. And they have 4 high-volume days this week, so you wouldn't get excited about chucking him in there anyway. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $150 if your bet wins. So go and bet on your favorite players in the NBA, your favorite NBA teams, with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Look at their futures as well. Individual futures, team futures. It's all over the NBA champions, and go bet on that at FanDuel as well. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, that's the first game done. The second game is where we're at now. Of course, it is game number 2, another early one. This was the Philadelphia 76ers and the LA Clippers. In terms of lineup changes, Bud Hield stepped up to replace the resting Kyle Lowry. It would have been nice for self-branded hat legend Nick Nurse to tell us that Nick Batum was also resting. Nick Batum was kind enough to tell us that in the locker room after the game, but it would have been nice to have known that in advance. The Sixers get the surprising victory over the Clippers, 121-107. Ty Lue, not really happy about that from the Clippers' point of view. For the Sixers, it was Cam Payne who really stepped up. 24 minutes, 23, 5 and 3, with 2 blocks with Lowry out. I think we can safely ignore it. And then the Mo Bamba, Paul Reed situation. Like I talked about a lot earlier today, about adding Bamba and the value of Bamba, and people saying, well, it's Bamba time now because he played 30 minutes. Bamba played 22 here and had 5 and 7 with 2 blocks. He has been starting for weeks, and he's had 1 big game. This was fine. Like, the blocks are okay, but that didn't indicate a changing of the guard pretty clearly because Paul Reed outplayed him again. 10, 8 and 3, 3 steals and 2 blocks for Reed. Reed, it's frustrating, obviously, for Reed because you don't know if you're going to get nursed at any point. But he is still the preferred guy to me over Bamba. I just don't feel supremely confident in it. Kelly Oubre only played 25 minutes. He did have a locker room trip. But the big fella had 6 assists. And I'm not joking, but 6 assists from Oubre is half a month's worth of production. This is a 1 assist per game, man. He had 6. That is out of nowhere. He ended up with 12 points there, while Maxey played 44 minutes and had 24. And the thick hogsman, Toby Harris, 38 minutes for 24, 4 and 4. I'm not sure that Harris sits tomorrow. He might. It is a back-to-back coming back from the ankle injury. I tell you who's cooked, though. Mate, I know that he's not supremely old, but he's a little bit old. What's going on with Bud Hield? The man's washed. 23 minutes, 9 points, 3 threes. He is absolutely not a hold.
Get that garbage out of here!
For the Clippers, Zubats, 13 and 10 with 4 blocks. That's great. I believe he played 17 minutes in the last game and 24 the game before that. Very hard to rely upon his production. And it looks like Russ Westbrook will be back for this team tomorrow. No. Absolutely not. Jim Harden had 12 points only on 39%. He had 14 assists, while Kawhi had 20 and 6, and Norman Powell returned and had 20 and 25 minutes. That's good and all, but they have a bad schedule in terms of when the games are, and Powell is not a priority. And I also chastise, sort of softly, loosely, caressingly, chastise the people who thought that adding Terrence Mann was a good idea because it was chasing the one big game. Mann had 6 points in 23 minutes. He just isn't very good for fantasy on a consistent basis. As for Zubats, I sort of brought him up and then sort of got derailed by making a joke about Westbrook. I don't know how you trust it. Yes, this is a very good game, but the last two were very low minutes, and now you've got 4 games from the Clippers on the high volume days. Is he a start every game? And then if he's not, is 2 games of Zubats worth holding? Probably not. But you need to have a look at that and see how it plays out for your league. Paulie George had 18 points, pretty down game for him. He'd been flying. You know what? He'd been the number 2 ranked player over the last 2 weeks. I didn't know that, but I do now. That is a huge number for Paul George. Next game, the Cavs and the Heat. There's not a lot to talk about here. Well, we can talk about one thing. Evan Mobley returned. So he was back. That meant George Niang moved to the bench. But this was just a gigantic ass kicking. So the takeaways from this are marginal. I was going to say marginal at best. No, they're just marginal. They're just bad. Like, what do we get out of it? 121 Miami, 84 Cleveland, who are struggling. There's still no Mitchell, still no Strus, still no Wade. I'm not sure whether Mobley will play tomorrow. It was an ankle sprain, but he only played 21 minutes here. He had 15 and 4. So we'll see what happens with Niang, who ended up playing 24 minutes for 6 points and 2 threes. If Mobley plays tomorrow, then Niang's a very clear drop. LeVert, we've been waiting. We said there's going to be a game where he absolutely kills you. 2 points, 20 minutes, 20% shooting, missed both his free throws. This is the word of Karis LeVert. This is what happens. Again, it's hard to blame it on him because the starters just got benched about 4 minutes into the third quarter. So we had 22 minutes of Garland, 22 minutes of Allen, 21 minutes of Mobley because they were getting killed. But LeVert always finds a way to do this. Isaac Okoro continued his terrible run, 243rd ranked player over the last 2 weeks in 33 minutes a night. Not someone I have any interest in whatsoever. He had 3 points. While Slam and Sammy Merrill, we always look at a good 3-point stream guy for Sam. He had 1 point on 0 of 6 shooting. The man who just jacks up threes and hits them at a great rate until we get interested in adding him, then he decides he's going to miss every single one of them. For Miami, there was no Hero, no Huckers, no Robinson, no Love. So Haywood Highsmith got hot. 18 points, 25 minutes, 5 rebounds, 4 threes. Not adding him, not interested. Rozier, 14, 3 and 5. He has been so mid since joining this team. And then Caleb Martin, only 20 minutes. We can jack him.
Get that garbage out of here.
Jovic played only the 18. He should not be rostered in any 12 or 14 team leagues. While Adebayo had a very good game. 15, 16 and 4 with 5 steals. And Jim Butler had 15, 3 and 6. But I've talked for too long on a game that was such a blowout that I don't even know what we end up getting out of that one. Apart from the fact that Evan Mobley returned. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. It's got over 3 million members. It's the easiest and the most exciting way to play DFS as well. It's just you against the numbers. So you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. It is demon time on Prize Picks at the moment. You can now win up to 100 times your money. With as little as 4 correct picks, you can turn $10 into 1,000. Demons and Goblins are the newest and the most exciting way to play at Prize Picks. You find the squares marked with the red demons or the green goblins, and you can get different payouts. You can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account during this basketball season. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. That is the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Let's go on to the next game, another game where I'm not really sure how much we're going to take out of this one. It was the Thunder up against the Milwaukee Bucks as Chris Middleton returned. Jay Crowder moved to the bench, and the Bucks finally had all of their guys back, which we have not seen happen very often. And they won easy, 118-93. Huge win for Glenn Rivers and the Bucks up against the Thunder, who just, again, if this is your final week and this is your last matchup, you would be absolutely ropeable at the performances of these Thunder guys on that final day. It doesn't win you or lose you a championship, even though every single performance that happens on the Sunday, you think that it does, but obviously everything adds up over 7 days. These are just the most hyper-visible ones. So if you had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the second or third best player all season, and he has 12 points with 3 rebounds and 2 assists in your last day of your finals matchup, then yeah, you're going to be pretty annoyed. If you have Chesterfield Holmgren, who you got for a steal in round 4, who's been on the verges of the top 10 or top 20 all season, and then he has 6 points on 10% shooting with no assists, steals, or blocks, you're going to be pretty annoyed. And they did turn in a horrific performance in this one. We can throw most of it out, but you can sit here and commiserate with it. That's okay. The Bronco had 18 points, Jalen Williams with 4 assists. Not a bad game. Well, what's going on with Josh Giddey? Why are we getting good games from him now? 29 minutes, 19, 9, and 8. That is the sort of lines that Giddey would get regularly last season when he was playing 30 minutes a night. Now I suppose he played 29 here, but his production is way up on a per-minute basis. Lou Dort went to the locker room, played only 22 minutes. If you rostered Lou Dort, you should learn the lesson of rostering Lou Dort.
Get that garbage out of here!
That meant we got a little bit extra of Cason Wallace, who had 5 points with 2 steals. He is a steal streamer, and that's it. And I'm not taking anything else away from this team. Gordon Hayward, what an absolute spud he has been on this squad. For the Bucks, Yanni, 30 and 19 with 4 assists. Great. Middleton did not play well, but ended up with a triple-double. 11, 10, and 10 on 46% shooting in only 27 minutes. Bob Portis, 15 and 6. Brook Lopez, only 23 minutes, but 14 points with 2 threes. Now, remember, the Bucks, like the Pelicans, have 3 quality games next week, and no other teams do. So if you were considering a drop of Portis or a drop of Lopez or a drop of Malik Beasley, who had 8 points in 25 minutes, don't, because they get to accumulate the stats for this upcoming week on the days when nobody else is playing. Also, a real stinker from Lillard. So if this was your final matchup, this would just be the final nail in the coffin for the frustrations that you suffered from dealing with him. Now, overall, he's the 10th ranked player over the last 2 weeks and 19th for the season. Not really a disaster, but it's felt like it at times. And then he has 11 points on 33% shooting with 5 assists on the final day. Annoying, I know. That's what happens. But if your league is still going, then you get more to recoup or to get back from that. Pat Beverly had 1 point, sick. He had 4 assists and 2 blocks. Let's go on to the next one. Again, those last 2 games, there's just not a lot that we could talk about with it, honestly. The next game is the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors. No actual lineup changes in this one. And this was a close one. Good. The Wolves win it 114-110, the final score. Steph, only 30 minutes. And obviously, I'm sure there's going to be a Jim Park space rolling right now about how Steve Kerr is actually a terrorist in disguise and he hates Steph and he hates the Warriors and he's personally targeting Jim and all other Steph fans out there for only playing him 30 minutes. And yeah, it's a little bit annoying to see Steph only played 30 minutes, and Kerr's excuse at the end was weird. It was like, hey, Steph's been doing this for 15 years. We can't rely on him to do it the whole way. Like, you sort of can for this year though, mate. Like, I get it that you want to get other guys in there, but, like, you probably can sort of do it right now. Anyway, 31 points for Steph. He's right, though. The others need to pick it up because Andy Wiggins sucked again. 15 points, 2 threes, and 2 steals. Now, Wiggins is very obviously a drop, except they play Tuesday. So if you want to hold for his game on Tuesday, then do it. Otherwise, a very easy drop. Brandon Pajemski, also an easy drop. Again, but the game is on Tuesday. He sucked. He played 19 minutes pods. He had 7 points. Kuminga, since that unbelievable run of play, he's not playing super well. He's been all right, but he's definitely not at that same level that he was. 14 and 3, a steal and a block in 30 minutes for John. Chris Paul, 7, 4, and 6. You would 100% consider dropping him, but hold for Tuesday. Klay Thompson had 16 points on bad shooting yet again. The only guy that I think their trajectory is going up is Trace Jackson-Davis. Now, he only had 6 points, okay, bad. Percentage was bad, 33 from the field, 50 from the line, but he played 28 minutes. He had 6 and 5 Jackson-Davis with 3 steals and 2 blocks. He gets big minutes every game at the moment, or enough minutes every game. He should be rostered. And the fact that you get that bonus Tuesday game is huge. Just needs to be on rosters. We also, out of nowhere, got a big Gary Payton game. He had played 24 minutes. He had 2 points, but 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and a steal. He's barely been playing even 15 minutes, let alone getting close to 25. I'm not going to react to that, but it does at least put him into the zone of, hey, if I need a 1-game stream on Tuesday, maybe Gaz has some value there. The Wolves, despite not starting him in the second half of last game, they went back to Naz Reid starting, and Reid was great. 29 minutes, 20 points, 12 rebounds, 2 blocks. He hit 6 threes. Fantastic stuff. And the fact that he, look, I don't know, this, I like Naz Reid a lot. I hate to make the comparison, but sometimes this happens. It's like, maybe it's the hair, but there's a lot of Montrezl Harrell's there about him, where he puts up some good offensive numbers. His shooting's obviously way better than Harrell. Somehow it was still a -6 in this game. I don't really know how that happened in the game that they won by 4, but his numbers are great at the moment, and it's great to see him doing it while he is starting next to Gobert. That's fantastic. And the bench unit, with Kyle Anderson in the bench unit, has been cooking as well. I said this basically when Towns went down and we talked about Anderson and his value. I said, this man is just going to give you nothing more, nothing less, 10, 5, and 5, a steal and a block. Today, Kyle Anderson had 10, 6, and 5 with 2 steals and a block. I've never seen a guy that just doesn't vary. Like, it's just the same stuff every game. It's just the most consistent production. Is it for everybody? No. Is it great in points leagues? No, it's okay. But you just know what you're going to get. I also know what I'm going to get from Jaden McDaniels, and that is usually nothing. And We got it again. 8 points in 30 minutes with no steals and no blocks with 4 rebounds. So that 2 little game bump that he had moved him up to 233rd over the last 2 weeks. And he remains one of the biggest jack-off candidates there are.
Get that garbage out of here.
Nickeil Alexander-Walker played 22 minutes. He had 11 points with 3 threes. It's okay. If their schedule was a real positive this week, we would consider him, but it's not, so we don't. And then we had Conley with 14 and Gobert with 17 and 12. Gobert playing 37 minutes in this one to make up for the absence of the big fella, Karl Anthony Towns. All right, so that can bring us into the final game of the day. The Pacers take on the Los Angeles Lakers. There was a change in the lineups in this game because D'Angelo Russell was a late scratch. He was ill. And Spencer Dinwiddie moved into the starting lineup. Russell, yeah, that's annoying. Obviously, if that was the last day of your matchup and your last game coming up and you got waiting for D'Lo to get in there and then he gets sick, you wouldn't feel too good about it. But, oh well. Stuff happens, doesn't it, unfortunately. What about this game? The Lakers win 150 to 145. Pacers' big scoring games are back on the menu, it seems. Tell you just a quick story. I don't know. People ask a lot of questions all the time, whether it's through Instagram, YouTube comments, Twitter, and some of them I remember, some of them I get to, some of them I answer, some of them I don't. But someone asked me a question. I don't remember the full context behind it, but their basic gist of their question was, do I sit whatever play it was to preserve my free throw lead? In order to win free throws, I need to make sure that Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Smith don't go 9 of 9 from the line. And I don't even know if he asked this before or after the D'Lo scratch. I'm not sure. I said, I think it's fairly unlikely that Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Smith combined to go 9 of 9 from the free throw line. So there are 3 minutes left. Spencer Dinwiddie was sitting 7 of 7 from the free throw line. Jalen Smith had none. I went, oh no, is this actually going to happen? And then Dinwiddie went to the line. I thought he's going to hit the 9 of 9 and this guy is going to get absolutely dicked over by something that I said. One of the most amazing occurrences ever. And then Dinwiddie misses one of his final 2 to go 8 of 9. So that bloke, if you are listening, sorry it was a nervous wait to get down to the end to see if Dinwiddie would hit 9 of 9 free throws, but he hit 8 of 9, so hopefully that means you win, I guess. Shout out to you. The Pacers. Andy Nembhard, 15, 3 and 5, one of his better games, shot 78%. Don't really care to add him. Halliburton. Another bad game, but sort of okay. 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals is all good. 2 threes is solid, including a late one. I think he had 6 points halfway through the final quarter. He ended up with 12 on 39% shooting. Just a really weird turn of production. In saying all of that, over the last 2 weeks, Halliburton's been the 12th ranked player. So while it feels disastrous, it's not terrible. Neesmith got into foul trouble, so he only played 27 minutes. He had 13, 3 and 4, 2 blocks and 3 threes. That's definitely enough to keep on a roster. Well, Dougie McDirt, best game for him in a Pacers uniform this time around. 14 with 4 threes, don't really need to do anything. High usage TJ McConnell remains a thing. Only played 18 minutes, but had 17, 3 and 7 on 53% shooting. He's a high field goal percentage, high usage, high assist guy. I don't get it. 38 usage. What is going on? But it's real. It keeps happening. And Pascal Siakam was great outside of the free throws. 4 of 8 from the line kills you, but 36 and 12 on 55% shooting is great otherwise. I don't know, did Isaiah Jackson also grow up in LA because they went with him over Jalen Smith in this one? 13 minutes for Jackson, 5 for Smith, and that just feels like a complete stay-away zone for those guys rest of season. For the Lakers, Tone Davis played 40 minutes, 36 and 16 with 2 steals and a block. Another great game from Davis, who is the second-ranked player over the last 2 weeks and top 5 this season. It's been a ridiculously good season. While LeBron had 26, 5 and 10. What about old mate Spencer Dinwiddie, who's had an absolute nightmare of a year? Nightmare. And then today he has 26, 2 and 5, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 73% shooting, goes 8 of 9 from the line. You couldn't predict it. There is no way in the world that you could say, yep, Spencer Dinwiddie is going to be the second best player of the day. You couldn't, but he was. I don't care for it unless we hear that Russell is out on Tuesday again with his illness. Then you'd stream in Dinwiddie. He'll probably have 2 points on 1 of 9 shooting, but this was obviously great. Rui Hachimura continued to be Rui Hachimura. He had 9 points in 30 minutes with a block. That's sick. We do not care. The only reason you hold is because he plays on Tuesday, and even then, he's just a bad category player that has been for a long time. Well, Austin Reeves had 25, 5 and 8, and a whopping 11 of 12 from the free throw line. So that's it. That is all of your games from week 21, all of your games from Sunday. So let's go in now and have a look at the monstrous line of the night. Who had the best performance of the day on Sunday? And it does, of course, I think, no real doubt here, it goes to Anthony Davis, who had 36 and 16 with 2 steals. Great game from him. What about the waiver wire line of the night? The best performer who is available in over 50% of leagues. We actually just talked about him. He is Anthony Davis' teammate, and his name is Spencer Dinwiddie. And I just realized I didn't update that scoring. He had 26 points, not 25, because he hit the last free throw. 25 or 26-5 with 2 blocks. Great game. Not really going to react to it. The young gun of the night, probably the worst field possible, the worst list of blokes who were eligible for the waiver wire line of the night. Good luck to you if you can pick who it is. You won't, or maybe you will if you're a legend. Buddy Boeheim. Buddy Boeheim. 13 points, 3 triples. We don't do anything at all with this. This was just a bad day for young players. And the dud of the night. Who was the worst performer of the day? I don't really think that anyone's going to debate this one because we were waiting for it. We knew it was coming. Trakaris LeVert had 2 points. He had 3 rebounds. He had horrible percentages. The whole Cavs team was bad, but he really took the cake in this one. Let's look at the top 6 players of the day. Who was number 1? Well, we already know who number 1 was. It was Anthony Davis. As I bring the list across, but he was closely followed by his teammate LeBron James, then Yanni, then Naz Reid, then Spencer Dinwiddie, then the big fella, Zion Williamson. What about your top 6 guys rostered under 50%? Number 1 was Spencer Dinwiddie. Number 2 was Cam Payne. 2 guys highly maligned, much maligned, in fact. Chimezie Metu at number 3. We watched that because the Detroit situation's annoying. Haywood Highsmith off the bench and Thomas Bryant off the bench in Miami. A lot of injuries contributing to that. Not really that interested in adding them. Najee Marshall's the one you want because they've got the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday combo. There's no Brandon Ingram, and he was pretty good today. And he only has to be sort of average or below average to actually have value for you. And then we look at your top 6 players for a Yahoo point scoring system. Number 1 was Anthony Davis, followed by Giannis Antetokounmpo, Zion Williamson, Bam Bam Adebayo, Pascal Siakam, and LeBron James. Okay, so before we get into look at the results from the bowls and the industry pickup, let's have some quick little takeaways. I do think that adding Najee Marshall makes sense. I do think adding James Wiseman makes sense, even though we don't know about Jalen Duren's injury. And Trace Jackson-Davis, a game on Tuesday. He's playing well. You got to watch the free throws, but he's fine. Bud Hield, very clear drop to me. Same with Jaden McDaniels. You just cannot get anything good out of him. You stream him on low volume days, and realistically, that's about it, I would say. So there's some takeaways from the show. And now we're going to get in, and we're going to talk industry pickup. We're going to look at the results of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl as well. So, I will say this, that as we get into the leagues, I'm just going to bring it up on my screen here at the end. The Fantrax does take a few days to go through and finalize all the results and stat corrections. So I'll say that this is how the results currently sit. I don't imagine anything changing, but be aware of that. And then what I have to do for those of you in Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl, because of the way the Fantrax Treasurer works, all the money is sitting in the individual leagues. It's not in the Battle Royale. So I've got to get the money out of those individual leagues and transfer them into the Battle Royale so I can pay you. And then Fantrax won't let me pay you until stats get finalized in about 3 days. So you'll see the money in your individual leagues come out of that, and then it will go put back into the Battle Royale leagues, and then we will get it sorted out from there. And everyone who made the Battle Royale gets $200, and then the top 3 places in each of them get their big payouts of $7,000 in the category, $3,600 in the points league. But let's firstly go and have a look at industry pickup, where I was the number 1 seed and got knocked out by Mitch Casey last week, and then he lost to Rhett Bauer, who knocked out number 2 seed Drew Dinkmeyer in the semifinals last week. So Rhett is the inaugural champ of industry pickup with a 6-3 victory over Mitchie. Big win from Rhett. I don't ever remember what money we put into this, but he gets the title, he gets the glory, and we are going to fully expand industry pickup next season to do something, if you're well aware of like fantasy baseball, things like Tout War and Labor and things like that. We are going to fully expand this into a suite of leagues. This was the test case that we did. I think it ran pretty well, and we're going to expand that out next season. So Rhett is your inaugural champ. He beats Mitch 6-3. We'll have a quick look at Rhett's team. He ended up with Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Tobias Harris, Jarrett Allen. Pretty good to get the win when Jaylen Brown was resting games. Toby Harris was out, Jarrett Allen, James Harden, Peyton Pritchard, there's a key ad, Mike Conley, Tyrese Halliburton, Andy Nembhard, Devin Vassell. Did he sit Halliburton today? Wow, to preserve some categories. Vassell, Brandon Miller, Aaron Neesmith, Cam Johnson, who was injured, obviously, Kelly Olynyk, Malcolm Brogdon, and Des Bane on his injured list. He's also a Pacers fan, so having Halliburton, Nembhard, and Neesmith on his team is interesting. So well done to Rhett for getting that victory. Now, let's go to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl Points Battle Royale. again, these standings, this is my team if you want to have a look at it, because I made the final. My team, Dante, DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson, Sexton, Kawhi, Reeves, Giddey, Allen, Suggs, Kuminga, Shea, Malaka Branham, Misic, Jamal Murray, Davis Bertans, Dan Gafford, Aaron Gordon, Aaron Neesmith, Nick Richards, Bruce Brown, Lamar Stevens, and Jabari Walker. That was my team. I did not win. I was happy to get through to the final 60 out of the 360 teams in it. And let's have a look at the overall standings to see who wins it. Congratulations to THT, the first thing that Taylor Horton-Tucker has won all season. Well done to him for getting the victory. A very comfortable victory in the end, it looks like. So I don't think stat correction is going to change that. Over 100 points there, 105 points ahead of points, PB and J. Good win from him. And then Wisconsin comes in third. So again, assuming all these results hold, you guys will be the top 3 finishers. I finished 17th out of 60. I was like 9th, I think, 2 days ago, and then fell down in my last couple of days. Ended up 17th there. But THT is your winner of Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl Points League Battle Royale. Last season it was Karan Talwar, who I believe made it back into the final. I don't know where he finished. I'm going to scroll down to find you, Karan. 47th. All right, so wasn't able to back-to-back, but he was able to get back into the Battle Royale finale. And now the big one, I say big one because there was 720 teams in this. I hope, I'm going to pause this recording because I need to make sure they've updated the standings correctly. All right, lucky I went and checked to see whether that was working because I got the standings page to flash up for the Category League Bowl and it just keeps crashing. So I was able to get the standings page off my phone, so you're going to see a different screen, but I'll bring it up now just so you can see the winner of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl. Really, really huge finish. Last season, we had one of the guys from Day to Day Fantasy win it, and he went 59-0 in the final week, which is an incredible effort, obviously. This week, both of the Day to Day guys made it through to the final. They didn't win, but Hovav came second after his partner came first last week. But in the end, I better give just the actual praise to the winner. Draymond's Limbs of Fury wins with a 112-5-2 record. Just a gigantic, gigantic performance to win. If you don't know what it was 120 teams, and you matched up against 119 opponents in 1 week. So he won 112 of those 119 matchups with 5 losses and 2 ties. Second was Hovav from Day to Day Fantasy. So congratulations to Day to Day coming first and second across the 2 years. The 2 different guys coming in, fantastic. And then it was incredibly close. Brotas State Lizards and Jack of All Trades ended up with 11-7-1 records. But Brotas faced off in the matchup against Jack of All Trades. Brotas wins 6-3, so jumps into third spot. Really, really close finish there. So Draymond's Limbs of Fury wins. We'll check for stat corrections. Because these are so close, you never know. Things could switch. So we'll see how it all goes. But at the moment, we've got Draymond's Limbs of Fury, Hovav Day to Day in number 2, and then Brotas State Lizards come in at number 3. Congratulations to everyone who made it through to that final week as well. 120 teams out of 720 overall, and then to win it is a huge effort. So congratulations to you, Draymond, and congratulations to you, THT, for winning the Points League Battle Royale. And that does bring us to the end of the show and the end of week 21. If your season's over, please stick around with us. We'll have jokes, we'll have interesting stuff, we'll have information. I hope you stick around and keep watching the show and double banging and all of that good stuff. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.